Welcome back to the D.R.O show. Yeah, I've been on a hiatus, man. I've been having a couple of things going on, and you know what I mean. But man, that's not neither here nor there. I'm actually kind of excited to get the ball back rolling with y'all because I realized with everything else in life, consistency is key. You know what I mean? And I ain't been as consistent as I need to be, but I'ma change that. So it's time to hit y'all off with more. Tonight, it's gonna be a relatively short stream, but I got something that I really want to talk about. I want to talk about drugs. I want to talk about drugs. I want to talk about drugs in the entertainment business. I was having a conversation with my partner the other day, and both of us came to the conclusion that, you know, if you're in the business and you really getting it in, whatever vices you had before you got on, you're pretty much gonna have them same vices when you win the game, right? So if you already don't have that under control, whether it be drinking, whether it be coke, whether it be molly, whether it be weed, whether it be tabs, whatever your thing is, if you already don't have that under control and you get into the game and you get rich and you get famous and you got a whole bunch of people around you who really don't have your best interests in mind, then you can end up like a Mac Miller. And you can end up like Whitney. Yo, honestly, this picture right here kind of is really what inspired the thought to even do this tonight, because this is a very talented woman right here. One of the best to ever do it. You know what I mean? She ruled in the 80s and the 90s. Unfortunately, as we all know, her drug usage and all that was a big part of her decline and of her passing. And I think a lot of artists, we take for granted that you gotta have some level of sobriety to do what you gotta do as far as the business. Although I will say I can't be a hypocrite, man, because I've had my own issues. I've dibbled and dabbled with a little bit of everything. Nowadays I smoke a lot of weed. Y'all already know, but back in the days I've had my addictions and had to overcome a couple of things, cocaine being one of them. You know, I remember back in like 2005, I went through a period, man, where we used to call it skiing in the summertime, you know what I mean, where I'm really doing coke on a pretty consistent basis. It started out as a recreational thing. It became even deeper than that when I started getting into some situations that, you know, I can't really blame a drug, but honestly, I'm going to blame the state of mind that the drug put me in to do some of the things that I was doing at the time. This was even before I really started to get into the music thing like I'm into it today. And I'm kind of glad I experienced all that shit earlier on. Not to say that if I had accumulated any level of success back then, that I wouldn't have been able to sustain it, because I'm a workhorse. I actually like the process and all that. But I've seen a lot of artists that get into the business, whether they be actors, actresses, rappers, singers, just whatever, and ultimately the drugs be their demise. Amy Winehouse. I saw a documentary on Amy Winehouse not too long ago, and it hurt to see that because she was such a talented artist. But look at her circle. Look at the people that she kept around her. I really thought Rehab was just a song with my dumb ass. I really thought, oh man, this song's dope. It's just a conceptual record though. She didn't really need to go to rehab. No, she really needed to go to rehab. I think a lot of people are under the impression if you blow up and you make a lot of money and all this, that everything's just all good. Newsflash, it's not. A lot of the things that and the demons and the vices that people are battling with before they get the fame, it's only magnified once you get it. And that's why I can't stress like the importance of having a strong team around you, a strong support system, because let's say that you're an overnight success. Let's say all of a sudden you blow up, but you had a problem with meth, or you had a problem with coke, or you had a problem with crack. And now you got all the money in the world to get it. Now you got promoters and shit willing to give it to you. If you ain't got your head on straight, you're going to be so immersed in that it'll probably take you out. A lot of people are under the impression, well, shit, these celebrities, they're rich, they're famous, they got a lot of money, so everything should just be all good. But we don't know them. We don't know them personally. You know, a lot of these drug allegations and stuff like that come out after the fact. You know, you hear about some of it while they're still at their height. Whitney, prime example, prime fucking example. She was at the height of her career, got with Bobby Brown, all the coke and crack rumors and all that started, and then ultimately it led to her demise. That's sad. That's sad. Up and coming artists, like I want to say Little Peep. I hope I'm right. You know, I think that was a documentary that I watched, and it basically was just an up and coming artist who was doing his thing, getting some traction in the game, and ultimately ended up dying on his tour bus. You know, I know the younger generation have embraced drug usage that much more within the culture. I know the older generation, my generation, we were more so about the portrayal of the dealer, but nowadays the kids are, you know, portraying the usage of it. Hey, to each his own. Again, I would sound like a hypocrite if I sat right here and was like, drugs are bad. I've experimented with entirely too much shit to say that drugs are bad. I feel like everything can be done in moderation. I feel like some things work for you and some don't, you know. Another name that comes to mind is Robin Williams. Robin Williams was somebody who we all were under the impression that everything was just great with him, but he was dealing with demons and, you know, he was dealing with things behind closed doors that were only amplified because of his success. Straight up. I mentioned Mac Miller not too long ago, but Mac Miller is one that really, it hit me hard because I was like, damn, he was really, really on his way up. And he was really, really talented. But again, the drugs, man, the drugs. Yo, I've got personal friends who have died of drug overdoses. You know, people who were close to me, people who were, I mean, shit, it's hard to talk about it because in some of them instances, you know, I feel like maybe a conversation with them could have helped, could have steered them in a different direction. But the reality of it is, hey, there's a lot of people dealing with a lot of shit that you may or may not know of, whether they're famous, whether they're not. And some of them, or a lot of them, use drugs to self-medicate. For some of the younger heads, I guess it's, just experimentation, kind of experimenting just to figure yourself out and find out. But if you're young in this business and you're going through that period and your management doesn't care, or the promoters don't care, or your inner circle don't care about your well-being, then that party will turn into your funeral. Think about that for a minute. You know, if I was a young artist right now and I had a problem with heroin, which I don't, never done heroin in my life, but if I had a problem with heroin, I got $1 million check, and I ain't got nobody in my circle to like, whose word I really trust, or whose bond I really value. It's like, hey, yo, D, that ain't the way. That ain't the way right there, bro. Like, you literally just got $1 million contract. You in position now. You can't be on no shit like that. And I feel like a lot of these celebs who end up going that route, they didn't have that around them. They didn't have anybody around them that they could really say has their best interest in mind. I think a lot of them were just along for the ride. You know, I remember, rest in peace to my man J Moon. I remember a personal story where, you know, we were business partners, but we were also friends. And I remember he was having issues with, some substances or whatnot. And he had one incident where he literally had choked on some shit and almost died, but didn't happen. So I remember we had a meeting, and then after the meeting, we had a real conversation. And I just told him, like, bro, like, how many more times can this happen before it actually takes you out? I didn't realize I was speaking that into existence because not too long after that, it actually happened. And it was a hard pill to swallow, you know what I'm saying? And I don't mean that metaphorically, I'm not joking. I mean, it was hard because it's like, damn, we all young. You don't think about your friends and your fam going out like that. But the reality of it is, everybody's battling with something. How people choose to self-medicate's on them. I don't think any of us have the right to judge at the end of the day. Like, I could tell you about all my escapades. I could tell you about the time I mixed mushrooms and acid, or all the times I've done coke, or all the times I've done Molly, or all the times I've done a little bit of everything under the sun. I ain't never put no needle in my arm. I ain't never put no needle in my body. I've been around people who have, and it's tough to see it, especially if you care. You know what I mean? I know when I want to say maybe like my sophomore year of college, I had like a real moment with one of my homies where at that point, I'm not going to say my life was spiraling out of control, but I was still in that experimental phase of trying to figure out what worked for me, what didn't, how much of whatever I could or couldn't do. And I was drinking excessively, you know what I mean? And I remember one day he just stepped to me on some real shit and was like, bro, I actually care about you, man. So don't get offended by what I'm about to say, but hey, you keep a liter of vodka in your freezer, bro. You coming downstairs every day to go to class and you got orange juice and vodka or gin or, you need to check yourself. Those were wise words from a wise man, and even back then I humbled myself and I heard him. I say that to say I would be a hypocrite to tell anybody to stop doing anything. You're grown. If you're probably watching this or listening to this, if you've ever had a drink, shot, done a drug or whatever, hey, you're grown. Do what you do. But just know that people around you are going through things, and that self-medication might take them over the edge. If you have a friend that's going through something and you know that they're battling some drug addiction shit, hey, talk to them. Don't talk at them. Talk to them. They just might listen to you. You just might save somebody's life, man. Straight up. I've had to have that conversation with a couple of people I consider myself close to. Just seeing what they were going through and trying to help them find alternative methods. I mean, as I get older, I think back like, damn, a lot of the things I used to experiment with, or that they're experimenting with, or they're using, that shit can kill you. Like, straight up, like, just take you up out of here. What might start as recreation might end on a whole nother tip. And if you have people around you who actually care, then they're going to go out of their way to reiterate to you, man, you don't need this, especially if you get into the business. Because if you don't have that around you, it is so easy for this business to swallow you up. It's so easy. You got to keep your head on a swivel. You got to be that much more on your shit. I ain't gonna front like I haven't had some fun experiences with drugs. Anybody who's ever done any substances can probably name some times where it's like, yeah, that was fun, but everything worth doing is worth doing in moderation. And I think the biggest thing is control, self-control. You cannot get to a point where you allow a drug to overtake the control of yourself. Accountability is, you know what I'm saying? You gotta be accountable. That's why a lot of when I see like the entertainers rise and they fall and it's because of drugs and shit, I'm like, man, who's in your circle?